That was, of course, It Was a Lover and His Lass by Thomas Morley. Morley was the son of a brewer born in Norwich, who was a chorister and conducted his local church choir, going on to study at Oxford and then become an organist at St Paul's. He's most known for his English settings of Italian madrigals. And this is, of course, the text of It Was a Lover and His Lass is from Shakespeare's As You Like It.
Thank you so much. I wish you were going to sing another 2 verses of it. May we have Sam, please?
Yes, the Canterbury Tales is a collection of 24 stories that runs to over 17,000 lines, written in Middle English more than 600 years ago by Geoffrey Chaucer. Considering the time that's passed and the degree to which English has evolved, it's surprising just how much of this work can still be readily understood. The tales, mostly written in verse, although some are in prose, are presented as part of a storytelling contest by a group of pilgrims as they travelled together from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of St Thomas à Becket at Canterbury Cathedral. The prologue, which is what I'm going to read, tells us that the pilgrims set off in April and starts by singing the praises of that month, whose rains and warm western winds restore life and fertility to the earth. One that April in his shore is suitor, the drocht of March hath passed to the rooter, and bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which virtue engendered is the floor. Whensoever as eke with his sweet breath, inspired hath in every holt and haith the tender cropus, and the younger sonne hath in the ram his half a corsirona, and smaller folders making melody, that sleepen in the nid with apnea, so pricketh them nature in her courages. Then longen folk to go on pilgrimages, and palmers for to second strangest sons to ferny halways, couth in sundry landes, and specially from every shire's land of England to Canterbury they wende, the holy blissful mark for to sake that him hath holpen when that they were sake.
Lovely, thank you so much. We're going to go from Chaucer to India's Kalidas. Is Mariam Rodway ready?
Kalidas, the most famous of Indian poets, lived in the 6th century. He wrote in Sanskrit, and the passage I'm reading is from a section of his poem on spring. It's a much longer poem, and it's dedicated to the seasons. The warrior spring comes with armorial bearing, armed with the nimble shaft of the swelling mango blossom, and the murmurous line of bees is the twang of his lustrous bowstring. He is shooting his flowery arrow, my dear, to pierce the hearts of lovers. The trees of flower are crowned with glory. The waters are strewn with lotus and lily. The balmy breeze liberates fragrance, and maidens are filled with dreams of love. The languid perfection of the day wanes to a quivering twilight, and all that breathes or moves or blossoms is sweeter, my love, in spring.
How lovely. You have set us off now in the dance that Elena is going to do on spring.
Spring is the time of the peacock, whose feathers are used to adorn the young maiden air. It's the time of blossoming flowers and singing birds. It's the time when all the trees are in blossom, and the small buds soon turn into falling thanks to the arrows of Cupid, and the young bodies filled with love become heavy and walk with the elegance of an intoxicated elephant. Spring is the time of blossoming everywhere, and people like to sing and play music.
So much, Elena. Thank you. Sharing our thoughts to spring and presenting your beautiful dance. We are fast forwarding. When I say fast forwarding, not really, because this style is a reconstruction of the 20th century. Odissi was created in Orissa by several artists who look back at the history and culture and the temple carvings, and they recreated this form. So although we're now moving to Philip Larkin, and that's the 20th century, I was going to say the dance actually, although its roots are very ancient, the way in which we see it today, the way Elena has presented it, is really a 20th century recreation. So thank you very much, Elena, for your dance. And let's move to David, who's going to introduce the Philip Larkin poem, and then he's going to read it.
Right, now I'm going to read a poem by Philip Larkin called The Trees. You couldn't find anything more appropriate for a period when we are coming out of a long period of a hard winter and 2 years of COVID. And it's rather like the trees, and he seems to make the tree into a metaphor for human life. The tree is coming into leaf and beginning to flower again. And he's interested in regeneration and growth and hope. And his last lines are lovely. He said, "Last year is dead. The center," they seem to say, "begin afresh, begin afresh, begin afresh." So here's Philip Larkin's The Trees. The trees are coming into leaf, like something almost being said. The recent buds relax and spread their greenness is a kind of grief. Is it that they are born again and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grain. Yet still the unresting castle's fresh, in full-grown thickness every May. Last year is dead, they seem to say. Begin afresh, begin fresh. Begin afresh.
Lovely. Thank you, David. The connection between the Jesuit poet Gerald Manley Hopkins and the sonata that May is going to play.
I'm going to read a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins, who was around in the latter part of the 19th century. This is one of his lesser known sonnets, but it's a beautiful evocation of spring and the beauties of spring, and then relates it to his religious beliefs and to God. So this is Spring by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Nothing is so beautiful as spring, when weeds in wheels shoot long and lovely and lush. Thrush's eggs look little low heavens, and thrush through the echoing timber does so rinse and ring the ear, it strikes like lightnings to hear him sing. The glassy pear tree leaves and blooms, they brush the descending blue. That blue is all in a rush with richness. The racing lambs, too, have fair their fling. What is all this juice and all this joy? A strain of the earth's sweet being in the beginning, in Eden garden. Have, get, before it cloy, before it cloud, Christ Lord, and sour with sinning. Innocent mind and Mayday in girl and boy. Most, O maid's child, thy choice, and worthy the winning.
Lovely. Thank you, Jill. May, would you like to just introduce the sonata you're going to play?
We can hear you. You're quite quiet.
Okay, right. How's this?
Yes, that's okay.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to play one of a set of devotional pieces which were written in the 17th century. These are from the Mystery or the Rosary sonatas by Bieber, who was on the Catholic side of the big divide in Europe in that century. So this is quite an extraordinary set of pieces. They're based on the Rosary. They illustrate different scenes from Christ's life. The final piece is just for the violin on its own without its accompaniment, and it's got a picture of a guardian angel leading a child. I think Sanjeevani's got a copy of this. So each sonata begins with a beautiful picture in the manuscript, and they don't have titles, they just have pictures. And the picture for this one is a guardian angel. It's a ground bass composition, which means we just get a repeating line with variations over the top. Have you got that picture, or are you going to show it while I play?
Show it while you play.
Okay.
Thank you, May. So very, very beautiful. Thank you. May I ask Pamela?
Yes, thank you. Have you got me? Oh,
Yes.
there we are. I'm unmuted now. Okay, thank you. Well, the fragment I'm going to read is from T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land. This poem will be 100 years old next year, and it's an absolutely monumental work. I'm only going to read a tiny fragment. As a student, I fell in love with it. I just loved the adventure of trying to uncover and unpick meanings out of this complex poem. And I loved the amount of reading and research it took just to do that. It was, as I said, an adventure. In maturity, I regard it as a great lament for the world after the First World War and for what he saw was happening to culture and civilization. But it is, as I said, it's a landmark. It's one of those pillars of civilization and culture that will stand forever, I think. In the beginning that I'm going to read, he actually does an inversion of Chaucer's idea of April being a joyful time. It's actually called, this section, The Burial of the Dead. But he's dealing with ancient creation myths and fertility myths and the idea of regeneration, rebirth, death and rebirth that happens in the spring. So here is The Burial of the Dead from the beginning of The Waste Land. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers.
Thank you so much. Of course, we can hardly begin to do justice to that work.
It's a taste.
It's a little taste, yes.
Yes.
And we're going to move from there to dance. May I invite Kali Chandrasegaram to respond in his own way to the Eliot and to the idea of spring and COVID and all the mixed emotions that brings out.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anjuni, for having me here, and to all of y'all as well. Today, this piece, it was choreographed and performed in the forest with huge trees amongst me. So I would like y'all to imagine that you are in a beautiful forest now, okay?
Thank you so much, Kali. Very lovely. May I invite Dinah Holt, please?
Hello, the poem that I'm going to read is one of a cycle of 63 poems by the Midlands poet A.E. Housman. It was published in 1896. The collection was called A Shropshire Lad. Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with blossom along the bough, and stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. Now of my 80 years and 10, 20 will not come again, and take from 70 springs a score, that only leaves me 50 more. And since to look at things in bloom, 50 springs are little room, about the woodlands I will go and see the cherry hung with snow.
Thank you so much. Such a lovely image of the cherry and the snow. We have a request for David, if he'd like to do a little verse for us before Fiona sings us out.
Well, I think that poem of A.E. Housman is so lovely that I just can't not sing it to you as it was set to music. Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with blossom along the bough, and stands along the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. Now of my 80 years and 10, 20 will not come again, and take from 70 springs a score, it only leaves me 50 more. And since to look at things in bloom, 50 springs are little room, about the woodland I will go, to see the cherry hung with snow.
Thank you for the encore. And thank you, David. Fiona, can we have you back, please?
Of course.
To sing us out and just tell us what you're going to sing.
So I'm going to sing Clear or Cloudy, which is a lute song by John Dowland, who was a seminal lutenist of the 16th century, who was able to ride the wave of the new technology of early printed music and publish his first book of lute songs in 1597. This piece, Clear or Cloudy, is part of his second book of lute songs from 1600. And I chose it because it's got some really beautiful spring imagery. The author is talking about, I suppose, the changeable nature of the person he's involved with, and their trust and their doubts, and comparing it to certain elements that have changeable natures in springtime. So clear or cloudy, like in April. Also, there's a great moment at the end where, to quote, the text says, "Rain on your herbs and flowers that truly serve, and let your weeds lack dew and duly starve." So he's urging this person's nature to fall for their more joyful opening side rather than their more negative closing down side. So here we go. Let me just give myself my starting note again. Okay. Clear or cloudy, sweet as April showering, smooth or frowning, so is her face to me. Pleased or smiling, like mild May all flowering, when skies blue silk and meadows carpets be. Her speech is not so that night bird that singeth, who thought all sweet, yet jarring notes outringeth. Her speech is not so that night bird that singeth, who thought all trees be trimmed in best attire, so of complete beauty's height. Her love again, like summer's days, be dimmed with little clouds of doubtful constant faith. Her trust, her doubt, like rain and heat in skies, gently thundering, she lightning to mine eyes. Her trust, her doubt, like rain and heat in skies, gently thundering, she lightning to mine eyes. Sweet summer spring that breatheth life and growing in weeds as into healing herbs and flowers, and seas of service divers sorts in sowing, some haply seeming and some being yours. Rain on your herbs and flowers that truly serve, and let your weeds lack dew and duly starve. Rain on your herbs and flowers that truly serve, and let your weeds lack dew that truly starve.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Such a lovely song to see us out. And what a joyful evening. What lovely performances from everyone. May I thank all of you. I spent a long time thinking and planning this, and I certainly feel very fulfilled in what we have offered today. I hope people have enjoyed it. And I want to just thank all the participants and all the artists for making this such a special occasion. I'm going to ask Valerie to see us out. I have got the slide that I would like to share. That
if you could just wait for a moment, Sanjeevani, before you do that, because on behalf of the Welwyn and Hatfield Interfaith group, I'd also like to thank everybody who's taken part this evening, the readers and the performers. And on this cold April day, it's nice to remember that it is actually spring, and let's hope the good weather comes back again very soon. So just to explain that our interfaith group exists purely to build up good relationships with members of the different faith communities in Welwyn Garden City and indeed in Hatfield. We are totally self-supporting. So if you feel that you would like to give a donation to the group or to become an associate member at £10 a year, you will then get information about all our future events. So once again, thank you so much. Sleep well. And I'm going to ask Sanjeevani now to just put our bank details on the screen for you so that you could donate if you wish. Once again, thank you so much, all of you. While we're still on the screen, or we can all hear each other, I hope, I'd like to take this opportunity to personally thank Sanjeevani for working with us over all these weeks. It's been a real pleasure to work with you, Sanjeevani, and may we long continue to do so. So again, thank you very, very much for all you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie, and to everyone. We're hoping that we may have a performance on the 20th of June where we evoke the history of Welwyn Garden City through dance and music. It's an application we have made, and if we're successful, you'll be hearing from us again. And I'm sure I'll be inviting the group to do some readings for it, and some of the artists who've been with us this evening to make another appearance. So we hope this is not the last. But just to say, to reciprocate that it's been a pleasure working with the Interfaith group. I've attended some of their meetings, enjoyed their discussions very much. They are a very welcoming group, and it's for people of faith and not of faith, which I realized. So they are a very eclectic group. So in the meantime, just to say thanks once again and hope to meet you. Keep in touch and see you again, perhaps before long. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So I'm going to leave the screen running. People can leave as they like. If you want to say anything, that's fine. If not, you know, I'll just leave the screen open until you're ready to leave.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I would like to say how much I enjoyed the lovely playing by the violin. Simply entrancing.
Thank you. It's very, very deep. The artist, May, we have known for some years, and she thought she might, you know, wear a suit and go to an office, but then her love of music has drawn her back. So
good.
I will pass on the message to her if she's still with us. If not, I will pass the message. Yeah, I think she's left us. Yes, it was a really virtuosic piece, but also very emotional. And she really put her heart in it.
I would like to say what a beautifully compiled program it was, of verse and music and dance. I thought it was beautiful.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I spent a long time in my showers, in my various showers, thinking, dreaming it.
It was very fruitful.
Thank you. And hopefully pass the word if we're successful with the application for the performance, then, you know, we'll be back. But, you know, it just, the ability to bring together, you know, the work of so many wonderful poets and the quality of the artists. It's really, it's an honor for me to have this opportunity.
Marvelous choice.
Thank you. Thank you. And, you know, beautifully read as well by our Viva Voce.
Viva Voce.
And I can't let it go without saying how marvelous. I mean, and what the dance was. I mean, it's not an area that I know very much about, but I mean, it's quite beautiful, and to see it like that.
Beautiful dance.
No, simply marvelous.
Pass that on to the artists.